What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Deconstructing Topic Podcast. Let me say that again. Deconstructing Topics Podcast. Sometimes we get a little bit of tongue twisted here and there, but we making it happen. Because when you just download this podcast, where we will be deconstructing topics, philosophy, culture, politics, and all that it's in between. We making it happen. Got an interesting little episode going on here off the heels of the International Women's Day that happened on March 8th, which is celebrated every year. And, sometimes these days when it comes to the International Woman, we want to recognize women, even though we don't need one specific date. Because, trust me, I'll be doing a lot of podcasts on different women that have fought the fight. To my beautiful people out there, my brothers and sisters, to all my sisters in arms specifically, my family, mother, sisters in arms that I have. There's a lot of beautiful women out there in this world that are making it happen and fighting for a better today. And that's why I was thinking to myself, like, what can I talk about? In this little kind of introduction here, as we're going to be bringing a lot of episodes, because there's a lot of women out there that, And unfortunately, we live in a world, as a man, we do tend to kind of put on the side of the work that a lot of women has done in history. And we kind of say to myself, and then, there's cultures that celebrate women and put them in high pedestals. There's cultures that are a little different, so we're not going to try to, point the fingers to every culture, every tradition is different, but that's a lot of beautiful women, whether it's individual, in groups, tradition, culture, countries, whatever the case might be, we making it happen. So feel free to hit the like button like always, comment, it's always a good thing. Hey, listen, it's always good to engage with those individuals that are doing these podcasts or are out there doing content. Feel free to share. And on a personal level, I want my family here listen to these deconstructing topic podcasts. Definitely feel free to share, so we making it happen once again. So one of the topics that I said to myself, and I always remember this story, and it's called the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. Yes, indeed, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire Factory. This happened years ago on March 25th, 1911. There was a fire that broke out. And it's interesting because the building, I passed by, I'm in New York City, so I passed this building so many times. And even when I was in the 90s, when I was, kind of, in a way, they could say, sleeping in the streets or whatever the case might be, down by Washington Square Park, by the Greenwich Village, I passed by this building and there are signs, there's little things here that honor that place because it's still a building occupied, if I'm not mistaken, NYU, which is New York University. And, I kind of, at that time, I didn't know much of the story, even though it was brought on in school. But the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, it's basically a sad story, and it happened again on March 25th, 1911, where 146 garment workers, and mostly women in this case, women, how can I say, my understanding, as young as 17, 20s, 30s, got burned, they got locked, So the sad story is that these women and these people were fighting for a better pay. It's for those people that never worked in a factory. I never worked in a factory that I could think of. It's not easy. I know people that worked in factories. Because you go into a factory just like any other building, you closed out. But sometimes depending on what factory, it could be something where, you every time that you do something, whether it's in a garment, whether it's cutting something, whether it's something, there's always, you're put in harm's way. And at the same time, there's a lot of people that's going to be like, hey, listen, if you're getting paid good, by all means. But if you're not, don't have medical benefits, and all that, and you lose a limb or whatever the case might be, historically, factories, it's a place that a lot of these things happen. So at that time, with these individuals, in regards to the women out there. So the building's still there at 23-29 Washington Place, which is near Washington Square Park, and I believe it's in the corner. If you ever go to New York City, or if anyone that's in New York City do pass by, and then you're gonna see like a little, I believe it's a little triangle thing there. And unfortunately, because of the situation with this individual that they were looking to fight for better pay, we're talking about 1911. So, what was the minimum back then? I don't know. But unfortunately, some of these women were getting paid somewhere between, from what I was doing my little research, between $7 to $12 a week, which somebody did that's equivalent to maybe $350 a week now, which in New York City, I'm sorry, $350 a week. I mean, if you're a young person, again at 17, 18, 19, 20, $350 a week, if you're living with people or so on. Let's say if you live in on a little room with your family and you just happen to just do a little work there, then by all means. But you got to keep in mind, these individuals, they probably work, from what I read, we're looking at about, 50 something hours per week just to get, that kind of chump change. So these individuals who started to organize, unfortunately, the word got through to the owners of the Kind Textile, which is, I believe that's the name. Unfortunately, those people were trapped, and a lot of these individuals just happened to just get burned on the fire. And sadly, as we get onto these situations, one of the things that came out of this, it was that they're talking about what happened is that, unfortunately, there's a lot of situations that something must have happened for us to react to it. And a lot of times there's a tragedy, and this is one of those tragedies that it changed the course of many things, whether it's in the labor movement, obviously, when it comes to union and fighting for a safe working environment. It kind of forced politicians to make laws where we make sure that if you're working in a factory or anywhere else, that you are in a safe working environment. One of the things that came out of it was the OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety Hazard Administration, which is a government entity that ensures that buildings, that companies are complying with the safety of certain buildings. Let's say if we're in New York City, right? So we got, for the most part, work in office building, big office buildings, 20, 30 floors. You got to keep in mind, it's a lot of things that could happen there when it comes to a fire. So with the Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration, OSHA, they want to ensure you got the boilers running, make sure there's somebody that's there, that's competent enough to make sure that it's turned off. Now with technology, obviously, things kind of have changed a little bit. But for the most part, if you look at after 1911, when it came down to the, what happened is that we had to put more measure. We have to ensure that the workers were happy. Those are that. One of the situations, because it does affect the labor movement, and in this case, these individuals, mostly women. Again, it was 140 something people, of 146 workers, 123 were women, young women, that they died. They're trying to organize for the better. Just imagine that. We're talking about 1911. And yeah, it might seem like a long time, baby. At the same time, it's not. But America was in a different kind of mindset. And when it came to the workers and workers' rights, was very minimal, at best. So for people to want to organize in a union to make sure that that doesn't happen, And one of the things that the results came out, there could have been some accident. Somebody was smoking in a place that they was not supposed to be smoking in a factory. Someone did something. Whether it's intentionally or not, the fact is that unfortunately the owners locked up these individuals and they had nowhere to go. A lot of them burned. A lot of them died because of the smoke. And unfortunately, there were about 20 to 30 individuals, mostly women, who actually just happened to jump out the window, unfortunately. At that time, there was no fire escape or anything like that. So That's definitely another sad thing just to think about. Kind of in a crazy way, even though it's different, but the events of 9/11 and people just unable to feel that heat and just happen to jump off the World Trade Center. I mean, even though this building was way smaller, but just the fact that people just dropped and just passed away, perished. And just to tell you, just to think like these women were there in this little spot and the fire and the smoke. And all they wanted to do was just to organize and, how can I say, fight for a better, pay, days off, things to that effect. And the price that unfortunately they pay is that, you have these greedy owners that probably think that we could spare a couple of workers, by all means. But my understanding is that they did take them to trial, they did time or something to that effect. But a lot of people always remember this situation if you study it, because it does change the landscape of many things. Again, when it comes to the labor movement and so on, and my understanding, I believe the next day, garment workers just, hey, they walked out. It's like, I was checking, there was different numbers from like 15,000 around there to like no more than 20. Because remember, New York City, 1911, you're talking about garment, the garment district, for those who are familiar with it. Down over there in downtown, people just walked out and just said, oh, I'm out of here. We can't be doing this. So they demanded more pay, and then they demanded a less work week. Now, in New York City, I don't know if this by state, I think there's a federal law that 40-hour work week would be that thing. If you work per hour, then anything out over 40 will be paid at time and a half. If you're a salary worker, it's a little bit different. You could be working extra hours, but if you work in a 9-to-5 factory, for the most part, you're working 40 hours. So, just to tell you how this situation kind of was that lit to make these changes. And again, we live in a time, and historically, it's always been a situation where there's always something tragically that has to happen for the government, corporations, and people to kind of react. And, much bless and prayers to those individuals that perished that day. I believe they were mostly Jewish women, immigrant, and so on. So it was one of those things where the owner, and once again, was against forming a union. And that's what that situation happened. And I want people to understand is that, again, they collectively, it's not, and that was not the first. I mean, I'm going to be talking about a lot of situations when it comes to women, is that it's not the first time that, women rise up together. And again, there were men in there that passed away, but this was a woman thing where hey, listen, we working here, what's going on? Talk to me, talk about my wages. You're telling me to do this, but yet I'm going to a factory that, it's not healthy. You got asbestos. You had all these things that could have triggered the fire. Those valiant women out there were just, hey, we making it happen. And that day, March 25th, unfortunately, March 25th is around the corner. So it's one of those things that you're going to definitely hear about this story, about the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. You're going to hear it. I'm going to put my links into the descriptions. There's a lot of people out there that always remind people of this situation when it comes to organizing, when it comes to getting a union, or if those workers are not, or workers in this country at the moment, if you're not fond of being part of some type of union, whether it's the AFL-CIO or the other unions out there, whatever you think that want to be, and you feel like you being mistreated by your bosses, or you feel that the conditions are unhealthy or anything, or hazardous or anything like that, hey, by all means, remember the word union, and unfortunately it gets co-opted in this country to say, hey, look, if you're part of a union, that means you're part of this entity that you pay dues, and they might take away your money. And, in the sense of a union, it's to unify workers and people together for the better of everybody, for the better of others. And not just you currently, but those who previously in the past and for those who are coming in the future. Because you are building a better, as they say, you are building a better today to make it a better tomorrow. Something to that effect. And this is one of those stories that please share it. People will be like, what? That happened? 120 something women, again, 20 something men, perishing a fire in New York City. And a lot of people, trust me, a lot of people that are living in New York City might have passed by that building and might say, oh, I never knew about that. But know the story behind it and the courage of those women who wanted to organize for the better of tomorrow. And unfortunately, they passed away. And for those after, learn a lesson to organize, to unionize for the better of tomorrow. And, when you just unionize in that situation, not only that, you want to work with hourly rate, medical benefits. You want to work, to see if your boss kind of gives you some extra incentive to work longer so that when you retire, there's some type of pension, some type of compensation package. There's a lot of people out there in the blue collar industry. And then, we say blue collar, it's the white collar that work in offices. And they say blue because at one point, and even to this day, you see a lot of people that are hands-on, whether it's, garbage, whether it's factory, whether it's cleaning, whether it's security, whether there's certain things that involve your hands. They say blue collar because a lot of the uniforms are blue. So you got the blue collar. If you go, when I take the train in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm surrounded by a lot of blue collar workers, meaning construction. They're doing the dirty work. When I say dirty, not trying to mean anything bad, but you see them with these little blue collar uniform, vests, pants all grayed out, painted out, all that good stuff, and I like that. Because there's those individuals that wake up just doing something a lot of people won't do. But just because you wake up and you say, hey, I love my boss, I love what I do, but at the same time, you have to always keep in mind that you don't want to be taken advantage of. And you always want to be in a situation that, hey, you're telling your boss, your company, hey, listen, I'm waking up to make sure that I put money in your pocket, but take care of me. Make sure I get a good wage. Make sure I get medical benefits. Make sure that if also I have a family, you add medical benefits. You add a couple of incentives. So with that said, my peoples, enjoy this little nice episode. Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire. Don't mean, the somberness, but it's a tragic story that we all learn something from it. It's going to come March 25th, and we're going to make it happen. And we always going to make it happen. So I'm out of here. Much love. Peace out to everybody out there. And this shout out to my sisters in arms that are out there fighting the fight for a better tomorrow. Let's make it happen. I'm out of here. Peace.